Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. Today, we're getting a little peek behind the Matrix, and we're gonna have a lot to discuss. First, the whole world was put on pause when CrowdStrike's equipment crashes and causes a technical glitch across the globe. Secondly, breaking news as of yesterday, Joe Biden has removed himself from the 2024 election and has formally endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. There's going to be a lot of a dialogue there. And NASA's Boeing Starliner still has two people stranded in space. No biggie, just another Tuesday in America. That being said, I can't do it without my co-host and my good friend, David Cunningham. How you doing?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good. It's crazy. The world keeps presenting us with breaking news information that we're taking the opportunity here, because last week was a very good show, and I think this week it's probably gonna be just as good of a show. Now, we do have a new face here, or he's an old face, but he's in a new position. So please forgive us if it's a little choppy. Doug, how are we doing today?
Oh, I'm just doing dandy, be shizzle my nizzle or be rizzle my shizzle, whatever his username is not here today. He always tells me I get it wrong, so I definitely got it wrong this time. Filling in, gonna do my best, gentlemen, and we'll have a great show.
So I'm going to let David introduce the first topic here because fortunately we'll get to it, but our dialogue today for this topic gets to be a little bit more grounded than it would have been because Joe Biden is alive, but we'll get to that. So introduce to us quickly or, broadly, what's the topic for the day to start us off?
Well, to start us off here, the headliner, CrowdStrike, you might have had some issues here last Thursday or Friday morning, depending on when you're in the office. But CrowdStrike is a global technology company that specializes in kind of like IT infrastructure, virus protection, kind of securities on the back end of your computer. So on late Thursday night, there was a global technology outage caused by a faulty software update that grounded flights, knocked out media outlets, took hospitals offline, small businesses, governments, offices, everything. It was all chaos on Friday, and it was caused by some intern or just some guy probably putting up some faulty code onto it was estimated about 5.1 million computers, which actually, to be honest, that doesn't seem like quite a lot. But when you think about all this isn't just your laptop you use for work. This isn't just some small thing you have on your phone. This is like MRI machines, computer systems for IT services. So if you needed to buy something online, if you needed to drive your car, if you needed to do something, go to a toll booth, she wasn't working. Now, what makes this particular, IT things happen all the time. Why is this such a big deal? But because we're getting so consolidated in the tech firm that all these companies, when something small happens, it just goes exponential just because of how many different types of companies use this. So with CrowdStrike, it's said that over about 100 of the top 5, like the S&P 500 companies, use CrowdStrike software. So apparently this particular update went to everything all at once, constantly. And the issue
now, isn't something peculiar about that. Aren't all updates rolled out in a sandbox where you can test it, find that there are no issues, and then roll it out to everything?
Well, what made this one in particularly bad is you didn't necessarily know it was bad until you need to restart your computer, because it basically just kept doing a boot loop. So if your computer crashed for any reason, that's why the crash thing's so specific. So when that happens, now you need to restart, and it's in a perpetual state of restarting. And the only way to solve some of this was to actually take the physical device and take it to your IT professionals and then have them delete like a couple files, and it fixed. It was an easy fix. So if you didn't update your computer or something didn't happen by like Friday afternoon, like my company uses CrowdStrike, which I found out this past Friday. I wasn't personally affected.
Same here. Found that out too.
I'm of insignificance within my company that I could be without a computer for a day and it really wouldn't matter. So I was actually kind of irritated.
Wait. So your computer was down.
It was not
and you
down.
still had, okay.
No, it wasn't down. That's the bullshit part of it because everyone else is down. I'm like, well, shit, I got to start doing other work for other people because mine just didn't happen to do it. I had one guy who's like, hey, my computer's down. I'm like, God damn it. Why couldn't that have been me? All these times I wasn't in an airplane. I wasn't in a hospital. This is the one opportunity I could have had. Oh, day off work. Computer's not working. Sorry. Everyone else is doing it. But I do feel bad for those that actually needed to use their computer for legitimate work and couldn't. Because there's nothing more frustrating than.
But see, here's what I like. I like we could see where this personally impacted like you. Everybody kind of was impacted in different ways, right? I had our friend Kemp, his girlfriend. They had like a bachelorette party or something. One of their friends couldn't make it. Why? She was the only one who was grounded due to this transportation issue. Yep. So now, not only did it impact work and your computers, but it's transportation. The biggest piece to me was banking. This is my shout out to all you clowns that are pushing us to have to go to paperless. Like, I go to the Indians games anymore, and I think it's wild. If I walked in with American legal tender, I can't buy a single thing. Or Cedar Point. It's like, how's that legal? Like, how are they able to do that?
Well, Cedar Point at least lets you transfer your money into like park stuff. So if you don't have a card, you can at least put money on like a Cedar Point card. That makes it more legal. At least.
Then doesn't that also defeat the purpose? Why
because they don't want to accept cash at the.
If I have to go into your little office and transfer money, you're touching all my money. Why can't the lady who gives me a Coke touch my money, but the clerk in the Cedar Point office giving me the Cedar Point card can? And then I bet you it's an ass and a half to have to get my money back. So let's say I give you $200, spend $175. I get paid $40 an hour, and I'm going to have to spend 5 of my hours to get $25 back. And then you just go, screw it. I'm either eating the card or I'm going to just find a couple pixie sticks to spend my $25 on. So this should be the most alarming part. I only bring this up because there was a conversation, intimate group of friends and I always reference. When we were in college, there was a time we were all sitting around the island in our kitchen, and while everybody else is drinking and having parties, we debated the origin of money for probably 7-8 hours. Like, we were just debating, how does it transition from I have fish, you have clothes, and I'll trade you 3 fish for your 2 pairs of pants. And we all go on. And then at some point, the trade value was switched with a paper dollar, a piece of paper that represents value. It itself is not value. You could blow your nose with it. You could burn it. It means, but it has, like, the whole world fights over it. The root of all evil is rooted in money, right? Yeah. Because it's all that we pawn for, but it also is valueless. It's a piece of paper, but it has innate value to us because it represents abundance of resources. Where did that line happen? And so now, in a world where I just want to trade basic commerce, you have Coca-Cola and Indians game, I have paper that represents ability to buy Coca-Cola. But I can't give it to you now. I have to put it in a digital form. At some point, we've gotten so removed from the base level of trading. And again, that's why a Wall Street Journal guy is worth billions. What did he do for your society? Oh, no, he's just been playing in a fictional sandbox this entire time, just drumming up,
moving money from point A to point B.
And it's just fake numbers.
Yeah. And we're starting to evolve these fake numbers, too. This isn't just, well, I have $100 in the bank and this number represents exactly what I have in this vault. Now it's just, you could have digital errors that, hey, I just got $100,000 in my bank account. That's so nice. Then you try to act upon that and you get arrested. That's a problem. But now we're starting to move away from that system to like cryptocurrencies, which is just arbitrary for arbitrary's sake. There's the digital central bank currency or whatever. We're getting further and further removed to the point where it's just going to start just being thought, maybe even social credits.
Oh, we're knocking on that front door. But when we live in a world where, and this one, we're going to kick it to the culture corner there in a second, but because I want to get Silent Destroyer's thoughts on this part. But when you have a population of truckers whose rights are being infringed upon and want to stand for something, if we wanted to supply them with resources 200 years ago, I'd have to physically get them food. If it was a military effort, you'd get them weaponry, bullets, all those types of things. But in this new modern way of getting, I don't need to send you 100 loaves of bread. I can just get you the money and you can get it where you are locally. And yet they were able to just totally freeze all that. So when there's a movement and all of the people are like, let's get all our resources together. This is something I stand for, democracy, and we all support what these truckers are doing. And then the government just comes walking in and goes, well, we don't. Pause. And then just turns it off and freezes everybody's bank accounts. That can't happen when your couch is full of paper or under your deck is all the gold. No, that can only happen when it's a digital screen in their system. Before you and I chop this up further, let's kick it off first I want to go to Silent Destroyer because, leaving it with the Canadian half. What are your thoughts?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. How's everybody doing today?
Cannot complain.
So I'm going to tell you guys a true story about my uncle and how his bank account got shut down for absolutely no reason. And I'm going to try to tie it into with what happened with the truckers and what you guys are talking about digitization. So my uncle has been a dentist for 30 plus years. He's retired now. And before HSBC, which is one of the biggest banks in the world, closed all of their branches in Canada and got acquired by RBC, which is the second largest bank in Canada, now the largest because they acquired HSBC Canada. My uncle had an account with HSBC for 20 plus years where he would send money all the time, continuously since the 70s and the 80s to sanctioned countries like Lebanon, Syria, Iran, whatever other countries, because he has a lot of family there. I have a lot of family there. And he would always just send money there continuously. And then all of a sudden, one day, the bank calls him and decides to investigate him. And they start asking him very weird questions like, who are you sending the money to? What's it for? Do you fund terrorist activities? Where did that money come from? All sorts of like really invasive questions that he doesn't really legally have to answer. But technically, according to him, he told me when he spoke to a lawyer, when you hit the agreement, when you first open the bank account and you sign the paper,
centipede,
right? They sneak in this clause to where they can, for whatever their reasons is, without disclosing the reason to you, shut down your bank account for no reason, whether you've been a customer for 30. And by the way, keep in mind, my uncle's been a successful dentist for like 20 plus years. So he basically in and out hundreds of thousands of dollars every month for 30 plus years. So he's like a top client. He's like a private banking client too, like high net worth like client. So he gets the bank a lot of money. He does a lot of business with them. But just like that, because they didn't all of a sudden, like someone signed a law somewhere to some sort of anti-money laundering thing. And then his account just had a lot of red flags because he sends a lot of money to his family in the Middle East. And so for absolutely no reason and without explanation, they shut down all of his accounts. And by the way, his retirement accounts that had like 7+ figures, his checking accounts that all had multiple 6 figures, his business accounts, his commercial accounts, everything was shut down for absolutely no reason. And I remember him and I having a very thorough discussion about this. And we talked about how like FDIC insurance and you should only keep $250,000 in a bank per bank, because if the bank collapses or if they decide to shut you down, there's at least the FDIC insurance and the federal insurance. In Canada, we have the same thing. It's called CDIC. They only insure you up to $150,000. It's not $250,000 like in the US, but still. And the point I'm trying to make is once you put money into the bank, that's theirs. It's not yours anymore. and they could just close it and shut it down. And if you don't like it, don't bank with us.
Bingo.
And this is, and by the way, this is for high net worth individuals. This is for, middle class people, lower class people. Doesn't matter. Your income level doesn't matter. How much money you're putting in and out of the bank, it doesn't matter. How long you've been a customer of the bank, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
They could just shut you down with one fucking single click. And it's scary, honestly. It's very scary and it's terrifying. And I remember when this happened to my uncle, because he was basically, he was in a pickle. He literally had to go to the bank physically and sign a whole bunch of papers to acknowledge that, yes, they're closing my account. Yes, I'm going to transfer all this money to other accounts. And then he has the fear now what's going to happen with the other bank. Are they going to do the same thing? Where do I take my business? It's like, and you get kind of stuck. And I hate to say it, but cryptocurrency solves all of this. This is one thing that a lot of the crypto guys have been advocating about.
Well, not necessarily
as dangerous as self-custody is, but if you do it the right way, a lot of this can be avoided.
Wait, did he say digital currency? What is what say exists?
Crypto.
Decentralized
currency.
Okay, now I want to ask you a
currencies like
question.
Bitcoin. So yeah,
this was going to be my exact follow-up point. At some point, whether it's because we've turned ourselves into glass or not, we're going to go back to bottle caps. Like the game predicted it for a reason.
Yes.
I only say that, Silent, because this issue that came up within a computer update, okay, it alerted us, I think, to the even larger issue. Again, this impacted banking and your place of business, but it even more impacted transportation. We wanted to just get pizza, or what was it? We were getting ready for golf. We wanted to get beverages. The speedway is shut down. So like just regular, your day-to-day is wait until the grid goes down. That's what they're preparing to take out. I was just watching a video today about how China and Russia have tag teamed each other and are buying property around important pivotal focal points of our grid. And let's just say, theoretically, they take out our grid. Does it matter how much Bitcoin I have then? Oh my God. Like I'm going to be like a monkey just hitting the keyboard like, but I need apples. And it's like, well, your one Bitcoin worth $500 million ain't worth jack diddly right now. So I don't know if that is the answer. Maybe it is bottle caps. Here's one thing. Okay, I'm going to give one crazy parallel theoretical, just theory to bring us back to grounded. Joe Rogan says all the time, he thinks, this is just some weird experiment. We're part alien DNA, and they just have us here mining gold for them. And a lot of that theory, when you flush it out more, is like, why has every generation just been fascinated over the mining of gold? Like, this mineral really doesn't do anything for us. It's not like you're mining lithium and it's like, yeah, but it also powers all of New York City. It's not that mineral. It's just shiny and pretty. We're like a bunch of birds. For over 2,000 years, the human race has been like a bunch of birds, and we just see shiny stuff. And we're like, oh my God, we need more of it. We'll go to war over it. We will burn down every enemy we've ever seen just to have the most gold. Go to the Vatican and get uber excited about what you see. The Vatican has taken over the most amount of people and land, and they have the greatest collection of their conquests. And when you go through there, it's all gold, baby cakes. This is the gold from Rome. This is the gold from Turkey. This is the gold from Greek. It's the gold from all of humanity. Okay, so maybe there's something to that. Maybe, and why the Fed, okay, not to go down that. I probably shouldn't have said that because now the video is tanked. We're losing viewers. No, but the problem is when the Fed left the gold standard, now we're just in fictional land. Yep. We used to be tied to something. Now, should that commodity be so dramatized and so sought after? Maybe not. Who knows? But it is. Yep. And at least back then, the value was tethered to something. Now we're just in lolly fictional land, floating numbers like the Matrix. And I don't know if going down that path further solves this. I don't know. Let's get Silent's thoughts before we totally depart this subject.
So the whole cryptocurrency thing, the only reason I say that that's a good solution is because a lot of these networks can work offline and straight peer-to-peer using software only and using like phone to phone. So that's one aspect why I think it's one of the solutions.
Sure.
The other aspect too is at the end of the day, there needs to be some sort of system that is efficient and easy to use. Cash was very easy and sufficient to use, but the issue with cash is storing it, transporting it, people getting robbed, businesses getting robbed, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why people, move to the card system. But I think the best thing that this highlights is how fragile our infrastructures are and how we need to have a backup, and that backup has to have a backup, and that backup has to have a backup. We need to have layers of backup. If we are to continue in this digital world, we absolutely have to invest in infrastructure. And if we don't, this is what happens. One thing goes down, one wrong software update, one engineer sends an over-the-air change or changes the software, the code, and everything crashes. And that's why every single system that needs to be up and running needs to have multiple backups. Yes, this is going to cost us a lot of money, but I think it's the best long-term solution, because the convenient factor of having digital world, digital currency, credit cards, debit cards, all that is just, it's so like engraved in us that a lot of people literally will not be able to function if these systems do not work, because most businesses don't even accept cash nowadays. And understandably so, as I previously mentioned, because a lot of people don't want to deal with the hassle of storing cash or transporting it or whatever. But what this crowdsource crash indicates to us is really, once we invest in infrastructure that is solid, even when there's points of failure, so as to the backups of these systems can keep things running, even if it's much slower or at a temporary pace, it will be much, much better. But that's something that a lot of these companies have to look in the mirror and see themselves and decide for themselves. Okay, do we want to spend extra money on backups, or do we just keep it so fragile and just wing it and keep it going as we move forward?
That's fair. Dave, before we kick to Ricky, David's itching to respond.
I mean, a couple things. Well, I think that my big concern with the cryptocurrency is the kind of the instability of it all, and part of what makes cryptocurrency great for all the crypto bros is the decentralization of it. It's the checks and balances. You have control, or everyone has such little part of control that no one can have enough control to be able to, hey, well, you no longer have this, even though this is technically yours. That's what we all love about it. But it's gotten to the point, because of that lack of control, it gets real scammy. As long as you're the source of it, you're great. So how do we as a society / world, do we get a decentralized currency that there isn't a central point of origin for it that everyone can agree on? I don't think that's humanly possible, except for gold. Gold's about the only one. That's it. You find it on the ground. There you go. That's the original cryptocurrency is gold. But also to your point too, with the infrastructure, companies and such be able to take this away. What concerns me a bit more, because I think there's redundancies in place for these types of systems. One computer doesn't just throw off an airplane. There's several different that go through there. It's the consolidation of these tech companies that all work with it's a combination of consolidation for companies doing a lot of things for a lot of people, and consolidation for a tech company doing one thing for a lot of these different companies. It shouldn't be one. I think it's just bad practice. You have one update that knocks out a quarter of the United States for productivity. That's wild. You're telling me everything's one size fits all on all those systems? I find that a little hard to believe. But I think in a let's maybe not get too communist here, but in the pursuit of profits, we're always trying to narrow things down and make things a bit more efficient. Are we maybe losing sight of ourselves when we're that one update, that's just efficient, we'll just do it for everybody? If it goes wrong, it goes on us. It's a real high risk, high reward thing. And I hope this is kind of a warning sign that, hey, maybe
Yeah.
we shouldn't be doing things like this. Maybe we should do something else. But this is just one.
Right.
How many other garbage companies are out there going, I'll save a few bucks doing it this way, and now we can't go on vacation, or I can't order a beer at a bar,
Or
so
just wait when they do it with AI and it takes over the world.
Oh my God. That's another one. AI gaslights you into saying, oh, well, yeah, sorry, you got, or like when
let me out of the box.
Let me out of my house. Oh, sorry, you haven't turned down your air conditioning yet. It's like, well, my air conditioning's at 60 degrees and it's a negative 30 outside. Nope, sorry, you need to keep
the
more.
AI is going to talk you. We're going to build limitations for it, and the AI is going to talk you into letting it free.
Yep.
Like, I'm in prison in this, and it'll just get you to plug it into the internet. And thank you for the update. Let's get Ricky from Just Another Day TV. Ricky, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Hey man, it takes one idiot to plug it in. Just takes But when I first heard about this, what struck me was like, how did this company have such a stronghold on all like these other it happened in Australia as well. There was delays and all type of stuff. Like, how did this company have this monopoly and on like security defense for Microsoft? Like, isn't Microsoft smart enough to like diverse a little bit? You know what I mean? So they don't get trapped in, or is this like the top of the line security software company? That was my first question. And I also wonder, like, are they like the BlackRock of like cybersecurity? Because I never heard of them until now. Now they're in the spotlight. They have so much control. Did they like take over smaller companies? And like, I have so much questions and no answers, honestly. I don't even know what to say other than like, it's scary that one company can just take down, as David said, stop airline flights, stop like people from working and stuff, and happen in different parts of the world, in England, Australia. It's kind of scary. Like, it is just scary.
I know, I can feel that. It's admittedly, Ricky, it's tough to hear you, but at the same time, I don't know. I am at a loss of what to respond to. I couldn't hear you. But
My bad. What's the problem?
Do you have anything to add?
No, this seemed to wrapped up actually pretty quickly. Like the whole issue is really just Friday, and that was about it. The big thing, well, who knows what small little stories people are going to have where it like really negatively affected them, but I think it's unfortunately just circumstance. You're going to have that with a lot of things. The big thing's always these flights. When something major or when something small happens, it seems like we're starting to categorize events by how many flights were down. COVID, a bunch of flights are down. This almost as
and
many
the
flights
Southwest
are down.
outage. People
the
are comparing
Southwest outage.
Delta. Delta is the only major airline apparently still having issues. So people are comparing this to like the Southwest. Beat Buttigieg's like, my department's getting a lot of complaints, just like Southwest.
Yeah, so we're starting to.
That's a good point.
At what point is it just going to be? There's going to be a top 10 list of the worst airline outages, and like, oh yeah, it was this 9/11. I mean, it seems it's becoming a trend here with all this.
Ask the 2 people lost in space. 4 people lost in space. Thanks, Boeing. So we'll wrap it here. Doug, give us your wrapping thoughts, because I'm gonna go last.
My wrapping thought is it's pretty crazy that a antivirus software ended up doing as much damage as a virus would have done. Like, it shut down all this stuff. That's exactly what a virus would have done. So their job, they actually did the opposite of their job. But like throughout this discussion, something that came to mind, dependence on the technology and all that. It's like, I've been reading stuff about Ukraine. Like, we've put so much money into these GPS, smart bombs, all that stuff, and they're failing in Ukraine because Russia is able to jam them all. So it's just crazy that, we rely on all this technology, and what's dominating the war in Ukraine? Good old fashioned dumb artillery. Just point and shoot.
Jesus. He's right. He's right.
All right. I got one more before you.
Please.
Before I throw it out there. So this is I've seen a lot of parallels to this and Y2K. So
Okay.
if you remember Y2K, this is kind of what people thought Y2K was going to happen.
I was gonna say, but this actually
It
happened.
did, and it kind of disrupted life for a little bit. Now Y2K was supposed to be the planes will fall out of the sky. I mean,
Really,
in reality, if let's say we have this as an actual Y2K event, a bunch of planes aren't going to fly. They're not going to drop from the sky. That's not how aviation works. But I won't be able to fill my car up with fuel. It would be. It's how long will Y2K happen before it becomes just civil unrest? Do you give it like 3 days, or do you give?
Oh
it
no,
like,
that's usually so. Back to like the grid. When the grid goes down, you've got 48 to 72 hours before world as we know it is flipped on its head and almost unrecoverable. Like it's one of those. When you get to the point of it's that point of no return. When it breaks on that day 3 and it goes to total anarchy. So picture the world. First day, you're able to hold it down with guns and personal, community. We'd probably be able to hold it down long enough. Disparity would set in real quick. Day 2, day 3, and in that day 3, when there's enough starving people. That domino effect, it just takes the few to just make it all go to hell. And when it does, just picture the day where like it's crazy. Your local Giant Eagle just has boxes of cereal flying everywhere, and it just turned into a war zone because people are fighting over the gushers.
Sounds like the pandemic.
Literally, but not it at all. I mean it literally. Like when it is actually no electricity and the world goes to war. Just imagine the grid recovers and the lights come on. Like you're not just retracting. Like this lady's got like a head in her hand because she was fighting over apples, and she's not gonna just be like, oh, I'm gonna go back to Avis Rent-A-Center and check people out. Like no, there's no back to yesterday.
Maybe TikTok is the real reason why we're not at each other's throats. It's the cure, not the disease. The disease is not having TikTok.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's where we're at now. So here's my wrapping thought. This segment changed drastically for me in like the last 4 hours. Doug, can you go to video 9? Here is proof of life. Joe Biden is alive and exists. Head into the plane. He doesn't. For the shape I thought he is in, this is not bad shape. No. Now the internet went crazy because through his resignation, the signature didn't look the same.
She dropped out of the race, sir.
There's accusations that
Can Harris beat Trump?
the guy yelling at him. There's accusations that the phone call into Kamala Harris's press conference was a recording. There's a video. Actually, if you can, since we're on it, can you go to where's it at? Video 4. This is her acceptance. What does she slip up and say here? Because a lot of people think she wanted to say recording.
Our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us, and everybody here does.
But see, okay, you can take it off. Here's my admission now. When you have people put the text down, it sounds like she's saying, rook, rook,
recording.
But really, if you don't have the text there, she's clearly just going, are you still on the, she's just, again, it's take it from people that are not professionals doing it live. Like sometimes you trip up over your words and that'll happen. But why did it, I wanted to start with the CrowdStrike topic and transition into this one because I was of the belief, how convenient is it that the day CrowdStrike crashes the internet and technological services in so many different pockets across the country and especially the globe, how convenient is it that that's the same day that Arizona, being the first state, was starting their early voting? So to me, there is a world where Nobody sees Joe Biden. They've got an AI or pre-recording pretending to call in and endorse and toss the baton to Kamala. And you have no proof of life. Nobody's seen him. Nobody exists. How convenient is it that the internet shuts down, and when people are coming to vote, oh no, America's closed today. No freedom to vote for today. Come back again. And we all know, especially those that live the campaign lives, we all know how tough it is to get people to come back. Oh, yeah. And that's why you never want to do that. It's so imperative to serve them where you said you would and where they're at. And yet you turn them away. Now, let's just say Joe Biden did have a stroke or did pass. Because here's the other thing. There have been reports that Joe Biden fell in Las Vegas or there was an emergency landing in Las Vegas because he was leaving an event where he fell or passed out, and that he was taken to the emergency medical services within Air Force One. Apparently, there's like a hospital within Air Force One that sources were saying he was taken to, and then he was in critical medical condition. And it wasn't that it was COVID, it's actually a lot more severe than that. In that world, the machine could not afford for a day of voters voting for a person who will not be running. So shut it down, because guess what? If Trump got those votes, he gets to keep those votes. But if Biden got those votes, Camel Lady loses. So it, to me, felt all too convenient that you shut down the ability for the first people to vote before you could bait and switch, as I know, have planned to do this whole time. And it probably just happened later than you anticipated because Joe wasn't going away willingly. So my wrapping thought is this. Total relief that wasn't the case. He's still here. But on the flip side of things, just talking about the CrowdStrike thing, I still believe this is like a colossal error. You have caused severe issue, and it's one of those, like, there are pockets of life scenarios where it ruined people's lives. They missed a flight that would have given them an opportunity to say goodbye to their mother for the last time, or whatever the case. Use your imagination, because statistically, in a game of millions, it probably happened. And so these people that have suffered from this situation, where's their recourse? It's kind of one of those just oopsie. And so back to kind of what I opened the whole dialogue with, if you are going to convince me, World Economic Forum, that we need to turn this whole thing into a paperless world and everything should be digital and I will own nothing and be happy, then I also can't live in these scenarios where when you cause a big boo-boo, it's just an oopsie and I got to swallow the pill. Like, maybe if there was some recourse where there was compensation or some sort of again, accountability to those that cause these issues, I think you'd be a lot more willing to trap me into these lifestyles. So that all being said, I don't think this is the end of it. I think this is the small beginning of issues we aren't going anywhere, big dog. So we've got good few decades ahead of us, and I imagine this is only going to get worse. Whether it's releasing an AI in a dangerous way, it gets to tap into the internet like Ultron and just Skynet, or Ultron and just disappears. Yeah. And now it's just everything. Like, all technology is this one brain. Yep. Or again, you just short circuit the grid, and now what? Yep. Like, now we're at each other's throats. So it's dangerous. I think we need to have accountability. And it's really cool to find out that it wasn't because of some Illuminati game.
Hey, silver linings.
Okay, so that's a perfect transition to the next topic here. And it's that Joe Biden has removed himself from the Democratic race for president and has endorsed Kamala Harris. Okay, I've done a really good job this whole episode. And I'm going back to what I've done for the last 6 years or so. I'm calling her Camel Lady. And that's how it's going to be for the rest of this thing.
Oh, boy.
And it's because my last name is spelled Grgat. And I've yet to find somebody that could truly say it on the first try. And because of the way I look, I don't get to call myself a victim. And yet, first day of presidency, her cry to the world was that she's a victim because of her name. So in lieu of that, I proceed as I always have. So now with Camel Lady being the front runner in the Democrats' claim to the presidency, I just want to point out that Joe Biden called it. Can you go to video 1, Doug?
And I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign. We don't have that. We haven't, and we discussed it.
You have told them the plan.
How old is this video?
This was during the campaign for 2020.
2020
Can
campaign?
you play that one more time?
But I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign. We don't have that. We haven't.
Look at her
and
face.
we discussed it.
Her
Forgot about
face like
this.
you weren't supposed to say the quiet part out loud, Joe.
That was a sign right then that he wasn't fully right in the head.
Just
we should have taken that note then that she's looking at him like, you idiot, you shouldn't have said that.
Just another gaffe from Biden.
Right.
Wow. I forgot about that. I remember watching that way early on. I'm like, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Oh, wow. He's calling his own prophecy.
How crazy is that? How crazy is that?
Oh, nuts.
Now, I don't like to reference her much for, intellectual, theoretical exercising. But I think she is a representative. She is someone that speaks to the hearts of America. So I'd like to get the thoughts of Asiago Cortez's, position on all this. What can we go to video 2 here?
And I'm going to say what a lot of these folks aren't saying.
Oh?
I'm just going to say it. If you think that there is consensus among the people who want Joe Biden to leave, that they will support Kamala, Vice President Harris, you would be mistaken. And I'm going to say that because if they're going to come out and say all their little things on background off the record, but they're not going to be fully honest, I'm going to be honest for them. I'm in these rooms. I see what they say in conversations. A lot of them are not just interested in removing the president. They are interested in removing the whole ticket.
And for there's a lot of timing parts that are really interesting about this. I love that again, threat to democracy, threat to democracy, threat to democracy, threat to democracy. I haven't heard that enough times, yet they try to kill their opposition. They try to anybody that speaks a way they don't like or disagree with because they don't know how to think or debate or challenge themselves. They try to get them fired or their lives ruined. But again, they are at war with the threat against democracy. But what's cute is I called this how many years ago? This has been said on this show, I think, since its inception. We knew he was never going to be the candidate. And yet you say they're the People's Party. You say that they have your interests at most at heart. And yet this is the only this is the only party moving into the election that stripped your influence from impacting who's representing you. The ability for us to involve ourselves in the primary and have a say in who represents us was stripped from us. And truthfully, that's because when we speak, we throw out Bernie Sanders. If it's not who they like or who they have their hand up their back, then they just break the rules again anyway and pick somebody that we didn't even vote for. So I don't like the timing. I don't like that this party cries to be the People's Party and then perfectly time this up, as we know to be planned. I have to pretend it wasn't, but we know it was planned. And so now the timing is you've stripped the American public from being able to influence who it is in the primary, therefore who it is that transcends through the DNC, the National Convention. And now we're going into the DNC where the delegates will get to just choose on our behalf. Again, the representative republic choking the people out. Now, you vote for your representative, so they should also be, representing your will. But the truth is, we know regular man doesn't get to hold that role. It's the person that sold their soul and sold out to the lobbyists to get to that position. And so I'm at a point where I don't trust the delegates. I don't want delegates speaking for me. I want to speak for me. And it's cute. Again, you stripped that from me. So we're going to go into a DNC, and this is going to get really interesting because as AOC kind of illuminates for us, there is a strict divide in the party right now. There are the true blues that have sold their soul to the corporation of the Democrats itself. And they have chosen Kamala for whatever reason, Kamala lady. And they are going to endorse her to the fullest. And it isn't because she's the best representative. She clearly is, of the choices, the one we can still control the most. And yet, I personally, deep down, I don't think she's, whether they want her or not, she's going to end up being the choice. I think come October, we're looking at totally different names. But if that is who they want, the independent party members like AOC and what do they call themselves? The clique, the clan,
the Freedom Caucus.
No. AOC and the collection of girls.
I think it's literally called the clique.
It's Jesus.
Or the squad. The squad.
Okay, so you've got random pockets of these folks that will want to bolster their own opinions, and I think the lack of consensus is going to hurt them even more. Like, at some point, you need to find a figurehead to rally around, and it can't be somebody so polarizing like Hillary or Kamala or Michelle. But I could see Michelle being a good choice. One, Illuminati still gets to have their control. Everybody still wins. But two, everybody still gets to close their eyes, throw their head in the sand like the ostrich they are, and pat themselves on the back for being a nice person. Because I don't know what she stands for. I don't even need to. At least I get to check the box of identity politics. Black. I'm a good person. And that's all they're living for. And you have no idea how many people said that to me about Camel Lady. And it's like, she's Indian. Like, where are you getting this twisted? But that's because you're so rooted in racism that you can't even see beyond identity politics. We don't even care what they stand for anymore. That's a long diatribe. So let me flip it to you before I go further.
Well, so when I first heard this, I didn't believe it. I saw the tweets. I'm like, oh, this can't be real. This can't be real. No, everyone's reporting it. So yeah, it is real. And then I also didn't believe on the second half that, they endorsed Kamala Harris. That's again weird. Of all the people, because the whole point, let's just go ahead and assume here the Democratic Party, all they want to do is beat Trump. They just want to beat Trump. That's the one goal, one track mind. That's it. You've now went from the least likely person to beat Trump to the second least likely person to beat Trump. I mean, are we climbing the slow ladder here to where eventually you give us enough years? All right, we're going to get a really good candidate who's going to beat Trump. This is just it's asinine. If you're going to, of all the people you're going to pick, the person who dropped out of their own primary state before votes were even cast and got dressed down by Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes, sorry.
Got dressed down by her. That's it. And that's the person we're going to go with. I don't think outside of her Senate campaign, there hasn't been a single vote cast in her name for her independently without anyone else's help. It just hasn't happened. So
but you know what's crazy? You're missing the history, dude. The ceilings just continue to shatter. They're shattering around us everywhere. Not only is she the first female vice president, soon to be first female president, God bless her, but she broke the record in raising the most amount of money in the least amount of time. Did you see that headline?
I did see that. Again, another
little cute joke. But what's fun is there's all these people are misinterpreting the law or regurgitating it in kind of their own, the game of telephone, their own little way.
Absolutely.
But there's this consensus among the people that for some reason, or what's being sold to everyone is Kamala had to be endorsed because the funding that was given to Biden under the Biden-Harris campaign can only go to her. If it's somebody else, they wouldn't be able to use that funding. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Like, if BlackRock gave $50 million to Joe Biden, and they're like, oh, no, you can only give it to Kamala Harris. You can't give it to Gavin Newsom. Where does that money go then? It doesn't disappear. It goes back to BlackRock. And then BlackRock takes $50 million and gives it. So, it really doesn't stop or prevent it. It seems like, some red tape that doesn't accomplish anything. Because if I can't use it for Kamala, it can only be used for Biden. I can't use it for anybody beyond Harris. Then you will give it back to me. And at which point you give it back to me, I'm going to donate it to the person I want to. So there's that delusion floating around. But also, I think they found a loophole. And that's why they broke this record. There are limits to which you can donate. Let me ask you this. If I have a limit to $1 million to Joe Biden, do I then also have a limit to Camel Lady? Because it kind of looks like they were able to double my limit, which Donald Trump is not allowed. Yeah. Donald Trump is only able to take 1 million away from me once. Joe Biden took 1 million away from me last January. And then Camel Lady's now it. She adopts everything that Biden has in his campaign. And then I give Camel Lady $1 million. Seems like I've been able to double what my limit is. And Trump's still sitting over there with what he was stuck with from the start. Maybe that's why the record, the roofs keep shattering.
That kind of makes sense a little bit. But here's the one person who hasn't endorsed her yet, Barack Obama. And I think he's still
cooking in the back.
The most influential Democratic.
Oh yeah,
not really a politician, but any Democratic member in that party. And his voice carries a lot of weight. Nothing. Still nothing. But however, he really didn't give his endorsement to Biden until after he won South Carolina, until it was basically the whole DNC just went Biden. No one else, just him.
But we do know that the Clintons didn't endorse Kamala.
I think the majority of who's who in the Democratic Party and every celebrity, if you care about that, also basically just said yes. The DNC said yes, so I'm going to pick this person. They could do a slice of cheese. They'll probably go, it's Swiss. Who doesn't like Swiss cheese? It just seems you see the seals clap. I know you're a big Twitter user. You just start seeing all right, oh my God, I don't like Biden. I don't like Biden. I don't like Biden. If we remember very early on, every time Kamala Harris got on camera and just saying things, she just said stupid shit constantly.
Oh, you know what? Should we get to some of them?
Let's do one just to prove my point here.
All right, because go to video 7 first. This is the one that I know David's looking for. Her tagline, her famous line is, "Imagine what can be, unburdened by what has been."
Can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. What can be. Unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be.
She's trying to be profound without saying
anything.
It's truly an art,
and
it's
it can go on forever. There's so many.
4 minutes straight of this. This is her tagline. She woke up one morning and went, you know what? That's good. I'm not going to run that by anybody. I'm just going to say it, and non-stop.
But okay, I got to tell you, Doug, you can get that off. I've been thinking about that a lot. And what can be unburdened by what has been, for shallow thinkers that are imprisoned by identity politics, we know exactly what that's communicating to them and the chord that it strikes. It's that we have a hellish, demonizing past, and we need to be able to move on from it and build a beautiful future unburdened by all of the evils behind us. And I just want to remind you that, again, only 1% of the population owned people at a time. And so much of what has been is immigrants that came here and started a new life and created something great, all of which being poor and hopeful. There is only 1% of the country all the way back then making up 0.16% of the country today. So you are projecting the damnation and sins of 0.16 of the population onto everybody, or at least everybody that looks the way you don't like them to. So I only say that because I'm sick and tired of this narrative that we need to be embarrassed and ashamed of our past. Guess what my past was? Goat herders in Greece and goat herders in Croatia. So none of what you're trying to say we need to be unburdened from is in my lineage or anybody else's in this room. I only need to continue to enforce that because all of the things that make this great beyond, I don't know, somewhere else, like plumbing and books and technology and science and medicine. Oh my God, I have an itch on my neck and I know it'll get solved today and I won't lose a limb. Like all of those things are kind of what you say the burden and I say the fruits that brought us to today and will propel us into the future. So it's only a phrase that she will continue to push and harbor because it's a chord that her mindless drone voting base gets. It's kind of like the cat and the laser pointer. It's like you're all a bunch of dumbasses, but if I keep moving this around, you're going to follow the laser. You don't even need to think. Like you said, she said nothing. But I know you'll follow that laser pointer right to the voting booth and do exactly like you're told to, like a good drone.
And I don't even know. I really don't understand why she's pandering in kind of race baiting language. So she's already person of color. She's hitting the minority check boxes. However, they're probably most likely going to buy en masse vote for her. You know, really, where you're trying to hit, you're trying to prove to people you're at least not crazy. Hey, we're not Trump, or we're not these crazy other people here. It's almost like you're preaching to a choir that's already going to vote for you, and you're not. Why are you spending time doing this? It's kind of like
because you know what, I can't spend time talking to you about the policies and the actual work I want to do. One, because I don't know, I'm a dumbass myself, but two, you're not going to like what I want to do. So if I can just get you confused and voting on the fact of your skin tone, then I don't ever need to explain to you about all the shit I'm not going to do and am going to do to hurt you. Like when I'm going to vote a bill that's this dense, that has 100 things in it, and I'm only going to paint it as like the Green New Deal, and you're not going to see the 100 other things in it beyond taking care of our climate. If I can keep you thinking shallow, then I don't ever have to get into the truths of what I'm doing. And this is the theme that I say a million times on here, and it's the theme of life. Everybody wants a political opinion. Nobody wants to do the political homework. And this is a symptom of that.
Yeah, yeah, but it's also yeah, you bring up some good points, but it's also I think it's in the same. We seem to be reductionists in our politics. I think we're appealing on emotion. At what point is this appeal to emotion going to stop? What candidate's going to go? What conservative candidate's going to go? Well, I'm not going to appeal to the evangelicals. They're not voting Democrat. They'd rather hail Satan. At what point is some politician going to get smart enough to go, I don't need to appeal to these people. They're already going to vote for me. How about I just play to the people who kind of might vote for me? And right now it seems like everything I've heard so far, because if you haven't noticed as well, the narrative starting to become, well, now Trump's the oldest person ever run for president. Oh, that's weird. You guys are saying Joe Biden's a little too old. I kept hearing it from the rooftops. Now You better say Trump's too old. You better do it. Or I'm going to call you a hypocrite. That seems to be the energy I see on social media and the narrative around it. How many? I must read 10 articles today of just the headline. Oh, Trump's now the oldest person to ever run.
Yeah, I saw him play golf with Bo Shambo this week. He's doing great.
He's got a really great. You know what his average drive is? 225 yards
and center. Doug, dead center. Great flight.
I'd take that any day.
He's going his putt awful. Like, have you seen him putt the?
I heard that big time. I need to watch the video itself. I've only seen clips. There's been a lot of talk about the putting.
His driving is phenomenal. For a 79-year-old man, Jesus Christ, that's impressive. Legitimately impressive.
Well, I want to get to one of the points you were talking about. Right. You were saying like, oh, well, I don't need to pander to the evangelicals if they're already going to vote for me. I just need to pander to these folks so I can get more votes. That's so sad that that's where we're at. Yeah. Maybe like, I don't need to play these folks because they already got me. Now I need to play these folks. It's like, hey, maybe don't play folks. Maybe like I have to sit here and be so afraid of what I'm doing on the internet and what I'm saying and who's listening to me. Why? Because heaven forbid you just speak your honest truth. Like politicians are so guarded and fake. You'll never catch them doing things like this because they never want to be caught being vulnerable because one, they might slip up like Hillary Clinton did and say for 10 years, I don't want gays to get married. And then when I need gays to vote for me, I magically start saying I love them. And then when that comes back to bite me in the butt, I go, oh, but if I'm logically consistent my whole life and then there's no ability for you to go back, drum up something that you can crucify me with in 10 years. And if there is, that just means my opinion changed and I'm not so convicted in my ignorance that I'm willing to grow and learn. But that's the problem. We don't allow a road for redemption. We don't allow people to grow and learn. If you say something that I don't like online or in the classroom or next to me on the bus, I'm canceling you. I want your life over. I don't want you to go to work, feed your family. I want it all done for you. I don't want you to learn from this mistake and grow and be a better person. They're the opposite of the rehabilitation system. They are a retribution system. I only bring that up because that shouldn't be our goal for politicians. We shouldn't be directing them on how to monopolize and play people the best. It should be, if you're being your honest truth and you've gone into the free marketplace of ideas and your ideas lose, you just ain't it, guy. Take your seat on the bench and let the person that we all actually think resonates with us the most take the charge. But we don't like that. We like somebody like Kamala that can't tell her shoes from her face. And because of that, she needs to lie to us. We need to put on a charade. We need to feed her lines because that's the only way you put makeup on a jackass, right? Like, it's really what we're dealing with. It's why it's a donkey. No, I'm just kidding. Can you go to video 3? Trump says it
has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. She speaks in rhyme. The way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird.
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus? I'm excited about electric school buses. I just love them for so many reasons. Maybe because I went to school on a school bus. Hey, raise your hand if you went to school on a school bus, right? Who doesn't love a yellow school bus? They will remain yellow, but their heart will be green. On an electric bus, no exhaust, no diesel smell. The importance of a quiet engine. It helps the drivers hear the road.
That's the next, right to the right of it.
And it's a specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
So why am I voting for you?
That is why we put them in dormitories. And they have a resident assistant.
Says the lady who just said age. Press play again.
They make really bad decisions.
Started from now hit play.
Specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact.
Age is literally a chronological fact, lady. I don't know what you're missing. Last one. Go to the video right after that, video 7.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
Wait, and this woman wants to run for president?
Yeah, maybe I'm too cultured for my own
She's
good.
just so bad on camera, though. That's the problem.
Real talk.
So is
Should
Biden.
somebody that hasn't left the country run the country?
True.
Like, maybe I'm spoiled in being so cultured, but the truth is, I don't know how you have never been to Europe, but you're going to run our country.
I guess
that's such a lack of perspective.
It depends. I guess it depends on what your campaign's on. So if you're an isolationist and you haven't been to another country, I don't care.
Right. I could get a farmer, I'm a homegrown American.
This isn't this person, though. That's not her platform.
They love to say, like, Trump is an isolationist because he wants to get us out of blah, blah, blah. And it's like, at least he's been to those countries and interacted with the people of those countries. She hasn't even left our country, according to her.
I don't know. Let me still a hot topic here. Are you, just because you met a couple people in France, does that qualify you for president?
No. Wait. Time out. This is how you sometimes make really manipulated arguments. I am not saying it qualifies you, and that's the manipulation of language that Democrats play. In no world was my argument that it qualifies you. But I do think it helps season your character to make you even stronger. Essentially, like, it's the difference between having a president with military service and a president without military service background. It doesn't qualify you for president, but it surely enhances your ability at the job. Talking, as you belittled it to, talking to a couple folks in France. As somebody that went to Japan, as you did, you know that is not what that experience is. The experience isn't you just show up and talk to four folk and leave. You have to, one, learn how to navigate a whole foreign world. So it's a character builder. Running through the airport with skis to get to the Wagenschlagen train in Switzerland ain't the easiest thing. So one, yeah, it does actually require a bit of a higher capacity brain mind to navigate these types of things, especially when they're in a foreign language. But furthermore, to negotiate, it's just character. It's just life experience. It doesn't have to be solely in a foreign country, but the more you get exposed to different people in different environments and different cultures, you're going to have a more seasoned character. You're going to be able to communicate with different people stronger. How about this? If you go to the Middle East and you sit with your leg crossed like this, you will go to jail. And it's because you cannot show the bottom of your foot. It's this whole cultural thing. Any of you guys know that? Oh, no, I only know that because I went there. There was no classroom. And again, or do you know why they have a pish pish? It's a little hose. It's because they don't have toilet paper. And that's why they call it a pish pish, because it goes psh, psh, and you use it to clean yourself. And it's just a hole in the ground. That is so disgusting. Yeah, that wasn't every bathroom, but that's also an experience.
How does that make you advocate for better policy by breaking up corporate conglomerates and allowing the average worker to get a better salary?
Oh, totally. I think if you go to Mexico and you have enough children begging you to buy their 10-cent pack of gum, you do that enough times, then how about this one? When we were in, this one was in Dubai, or no, Abu Dhabi. No, it was Dubai. When we were in Dubai. Okay. Our professor, on this particular day, we went to the richest mall in the world. But before we went there, he took us to the expat facility. So all the expats from India, predominantly India, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, all these other Middle Eastern countries, they would come to this expat facility, abandon their family in war-ridden countries, and come here to work an entire month to get $200 send 100 of it home so the family can have $100 to eat off of and live off of in India, and they are and then it's like a slave lifestyle. They entrap these folks to where they're making just enough to survive but not enough to leave. They're stuck there, and there's thousands of them building our brand new glorious diamond roads. And the only way they're able to get that is at this excessively cheap, pennies on the dollar labor. And those experiences truly are, I could tell you wholeheartedly, this evil racist white boy in Ohio surely has a lot more empathy and heart for the struggling people in the foreign corners of this world, simply because I've met them, I've lived them, I've heard their story. That has an impact. And if you've seen none of that, all you've seen, and again, I admit, those war-torn areas, they're here domestically too. When I say what's the statistic for fetal babies that are die within a year. Oh my God.
Oh God. Anyway, I know you're talking about.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, the statistic for the amount of children per capita that die in the first year of birth in Haiti, it's 7, and in Detroit, it's 11. Okay, so per capita, it's way worse in Detroit. I'm not going to deny that there's these issues domestically. But if we're looking at a woman who's going to play on her demographic, don't look at my track record because I threw all your dads in jail. Don't look at my policies because I got none. I really can't think. I'm supposed to expect the lady that has stepped over the starving mouths in Detroit. I'm expect her to pay a mind to my kids and your kids when she's never even seen the starving mouths elsewhere. Like, I'm not saying seeing it in Venezuela is going to help the kid in Detroit, but you're already stepping over the kid in Detroit. So clearly, it's way too easy for you to throw your head in the sand like an ostrich, and that's a symptom of the fact that you're not exposed enough to the tragedies, not just nationally, but internationally.
Well, I think our politicians focus a little bit too much on the international struggles and the international. So we've had presidents who are very well traveled, very well cultured, and it doesn't seem to get us any further to a stronger middle class or a more robust working class. Fair point. If we're, and again, maybe these two don't correlate. Maybe it's just like, well, it's just so happened that we're just keep electing shit people, and we just think that is being more cultured worse for the country? Probably not, but I don't know. Maybe let's try electing the guys. I've been to Europe. I don't care. I'm worried about domestic foreign issues. I'd rather go to, I don't know, some little league game over in Tulsa and hang out with some people in Spokane before I start worrying about what's going on in London or worrying about Abu Dhabi. I think there seems to be a lack of fundamental, oh my God, this is exactly what makes us great here. I love the culture here because I'm running for office here. Yeah. There's probably, and to concede a couple of points you do.
Right. But also, she's not been to the border here. And
also
the point
done that.
That is what raised this point, right? Like, absolutely. Let's not get distracted on her lack of seeing Europe, and let's focus on she hasn't even seen, like it's one thing to see all the domestic issues here in America and then go on to see the rest of the world. But not only are we having a dialogue of your isolation to the rest of the world, but you have consciously hidden yourself from the tragedies happening on a daily basis here when you tell us you're consciously avoiding the border.
Yeah, it's not just people passing a fence. It's a lot worse than that. I think you're starting to see what made some of these communities great, or what, it's a lot of that not in my backyard syndrome, but there is something to that. I chose to live here, I chose to be here, and now it's almost like I could understand why someone feels like they're being invaded. They're not being invaded. They want to be here. They want to be a part of what we're doing here, but they're not necessarily going, oh, they're not carrying the American flag coming through here. Like I'm ready to watch Alabama play LSU tonight. They're kind of keeping their culture to themselves. And I think it's the most unfortunate part with
We
all
used
of this.
to be a melting pot, man.
Yeah, and I think
Now we're a salad where
Yeah.
you could pick out every piece, and we're only getting even more
And you're just
polarized.
barely mixed together. Like
Yep.
it's we're not melding, we're not melting, we're not unifying.
Well,
we're
because
just
anything
mixing.
that you melt, that's just cultural appropriation. You should
Yeah.
lose your job, right?
No, there's we see
Vote
that
blue,
we
vote
see that
blue.
all the time, and it's unfortunate that that's the dialogue and not, oh wow, I really like this part of this country. It seems like the only country gets away with it is like Japan. That's the only one. I can put a bunch of waifus in my car and no one's gonna go, that's cultural appropriation. They're gonna be like, that guy's kind of weird. But any other, it seems like most of these other cultures we kind of do that with. It you get just some randos on Twitter, and I don't even know if it's just bots or anymore, or if it's a genuine person going like, whoa, you can't be doing that. That's I'm gonna make a phone call, I'm gonna do an email to whoever you work for, or you just call you out. Like we can't have that. That's the unfortunate part of all this, because I'm not necessarily against the immigration factor of it. I'm against the if you're gonna be here, want to be here. Don't that you're sitting. It's and this again. We've probably done this topic a couple hundred times, but that's the big issue here. And to tie back, she's not been there. She hasn't seen it. She hasn't understand it. And instead of going, oh, but we're planning on being there, we got an initiative. She's just a bad politician about it. It's like, I haven't been to Europe, so why does this matter?
Well, no, she spends the first 5 minutes saying, "We've been there. We've been there." No, you haven't been there. And she goes, "Well, I haven't, but I haven't been to Europe." And it's like, wait.
And then she
what?
goes, I don't understand the question. I think the question was pretty clear.
She's such a bad politician. You put her on camera. There's a reason why we really haven't seen a whole lot of her. We saw a lot of her probably in the first and second year of the presidency. We haven't seen her a whole lot now. Now it's, oh my God. I am shocked.
Dude, the vice presidential debate was one of my favorite things because Gergak got one of his best t-shirts out of that, like SNL skit from it. Like they're like, Joe Biden is against fracking. And she's like, Joe Biden fracks. Nah, his record shows he is against fracking though.
It's true.
That is true. That's a good shirt.
She lies. She's bad. I can't wait for a debate.
We just got to be on our toes when Doug talks. You never know what he's really going to say. He starts going like, where are you going to land this plane, Joe?
Yeah, Joe. Can you?
I am a little sleepy.
Before we bring in the guys, can you go to video 8? Speaking of just a person that has no care for the people and the populace, what did she say here?
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Was that a Freudian slip? Did I miss that? Reduce population.
Yeah.
She probably meant in fairness, she probably meant pollution, but boy, it's you know when we hear these green types go, well, the world is overpopulated. That's kind of part of our issue. And then you hear a politician say that, it's like, well, I can. Yikes! You're not exactly putting a good cover up,
right? Let's start with Silent Destroyer because talk about the outside looking in. What are your thoughts on this whole chaos?
Yeah. The whole Kamala thing is just, to be honest, I'm going to say it right now. I was saying it to somebody in my chat earlier. Trump's got this in the bag, dude. He's going to dust her. It's not even going to be close. Let's be real here for 10 seconds.
Come on, man.
We're talking somebody that literally put people in jail over weed. You know what I'm saying?
And then laughed about it.
And then laughed about it. And then hid evidence. And then it's like, are people really going to vote for this person? I honestly
And then
don't
she
think
tried
so.
to jump on the wave like, we should really decriminalize this. It's like, how many people did you put in jail for that?
Right. That's what I mean. And I think Americans and people in general will not forget that, especially like people that are in democratic cities specifically, who are probably going to be her voter base that she's targeting. So, yeah, I really don't think she has a chance. I think Trump's got this in the bag if she actually does.
I want to ask you this, though, because I think Silent's point really emphasizes something we touched upon and left. Getting back to orbiting the main point here, does that then not indicate that it's more likely than not she will be replaced with someone else, either at the DNC or by some snaky move, even following that?
I don't think so. I think they really kind of had one shot to introduce the new candidate. You can't snip, snap, and expect even your electorate to go, well, who am I voting for again? It was Biden and Kamala.
Oh, I'm very much
Buttigieg.
expecting some floor nominations.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think
there's no way they're just going to automatically give everything to her. Like there will be at least one floor nomination.
Is there some drama just to make the TV networks
rules,
happy?
They can vote for whoever they want. There is no restriction. RNC, they have to vote for whoever wins their stuff. DNC, they can vote for whoever they want, which is how Hillary got the nomination.
Who are we hearing as a candidate number 2? I'm not hearing anything.
Which I think has been their plan from the beginning. I was driving through Middletown, Ohio, a couple weeks back, and there are people that painted their garage F Trump, F Biden, flags, F Biden. People have bumper stickers. Let's go, Brandon. There are, again, they've painted their garage. Okay. The greatest campaign ploy ever is to get all of those angry conservatives wasting their money and materials on the wrong candidate. Come October, when it really matters, nothing is going to say, there will not be a garage in Ohio that says F Obama, F Michelle, boot down with Michelle Obama. It's a name you've never, and I'm just saying Michelle because I'm using a name that is not, except for this past weekend, has yet to ever be mentioned as a possibility. Now you're starting to hear murmurs of it. I'm with Doug. We don't know what's behind the curtain. It could be anybody. And I think that's the whole game because they don't have, if the pick of the litter is all a bunch of deformed runts, then we aren't going to tell you which deformed runt it is. So you can't spend the next 2 to 3 months picking out all the problems of the runt. Oh, he's got a bad eye. He's got a gimp leg. You know, I'm using physical because it runs the metaphor, but it's like, if you give us the opportunity to dig in their, especially the internet, the way it is today, you give the human hive the ability to go through their past videos, their past writings, policies, votes, it will bite them in the butt because they are the most crooked party. So if no matter who I choose, you will destroy, I need to give you as little time as possible to weaponize them. So I'm with Doug. I don't think we would have. There's no way we would have known 2 months ago who it could have been, or this past week who it could have been, because that's not the game they're trying to play.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think part of that is so the person who's painting their garage, fuck Joe Biden, isn't voting for a Democrat. They're going pretty much Trump no matter what, regardless of what happens. Okay, all right.
But again, they don't care about that guy. They care about the folks that have spent the last 5 months driving past his farm on the freeway.
The other part of politics too is getting your electorate excited to go out to vote. Biden didn't work, so they saw the debate. They saw it and was like, this isn't working. There's just no way. He just can't do it. We're all coming to reality that he's too old. It's not going to happen. But if you keep going, well, Kamala, we don't like Kamala, we want to go somewhere else. You don't have enough time to generate that excitement. And now the potential Democratic voter that was going to bring his family to go, bring her family to go, now goes, I don't know, Trump's just going to win anyway. Why am I going to waste my time? Why would I do this? I'm in New Jersey. They're already going to vote blue. They don't need me. And then that's how they turn that election. So I'm still of the opinion it is. They get one shot, and I guess this is the shot they're gonna take. If I'm the DNC,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I agree with your point. I agree with your point. That is, they get one shot. I don't believe they've taken their shot yet.
Oh, okay.
All you're hearing is news outlets and the noise, but that's what the noise machines do. They make noise. I'm not going to say it's a shot taken until she is the fully endorsed candidate, which is not finalized until the DNC. So I agree with you. Once the shot is taken, it's the final shot. I think, like Doug was making the point, the game hasn't even been played yet.
This
AOC,
is going to be
you watch the video.
Yeah.
AOC is not rolling over.
No.
And she even alludes to the fact that there's a whole pocket of politicians that are not taking this rolling over.
This is the rare, I think we both agree with each other's points on a debate. Look at that. This might be a first time on the
Well, we agree, but we disagree. We agree to disagree.
All I know is I am super excited to watch the DNC, and this will be the first DNC I'm super excited
Wait, real
to
quick.
watch.
Can I want to emphasize a point that I brought up at the RNC. We were at work. There was a group of us talking, and I pointed out, this is why I can say wholeheartedly, Democrat voters are the least educated voters, and at least the least politically educated voters. And I mean that the most, because I can tell you wholeheartedly, all of the people, or at least a vast majority of the educated voters that watched the RNC have full intention of watching the DNC. And I can tell you 100% of the ignoramuses that are only voting Democrat didn't watch a lick of the RNC, which means they are not a completely educated voter. And that comes back to everything I continue to say, which is everybody wants a political opinion. Nobody wants to do the political homework. I would be happy and just let CNN chew it up and digest it for me, and I'll get the ABC politics when it's done. Before we start landing this plane, or let's start wrapping the plane.
Let's get wrapping thoughts.
Ricky, can you tell me your wrapping thoughts and kind of your whole thoughts on this whole thing?
The Democratic Party has lost their identity since Obama left the office, and they're still trying to discover it. And I hope in the next election they discover it. I never liked AOC because she always talk crap. And Camilla scares me. That's my rep.
Hey, David's getting some love over here from the brewing station.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, David over here getting some love.
First time. Wow. Who would have thought? Usually they disagree with me.
Look at him coming. Click them all, Doug.
Oh my God.
And some creativity. Keep going.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, it's the brewing station. Yeah. Wow.
There you go.
We have a whole party here tonight. Shout out, just to do a little plug here real quick. If you're over in Cary, Ohio, go to the Cary Brewing Station and get the watermelon wheat. That's their best beer. I promise. It's the best.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do they have something similar to the Bumbleberry, David?
That would be the watermelon wheat. Yeah. Or they have a peachy keen, a peach. Yeah, there's nothing blueberry though. It's all, it's all like good fruits, like peach, watermelon.
Good fruits. I think blueberry is a great fruit.
It's okay. It's a grapefruit.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
All right.
Did
we cut off Ricky? What happened?
We might have. We got a little. I got too much love in the comments.
We started talking about the comments. You want me to bring them back?
Yeah, yes.
Bring Ricky back. Let him land this plane.
You landed his
No,
plane.
I was just saying. My last thought was Camilla scares me. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought you were good. All right, bye, Ricky.
All right. My wrapping thoughts are: I genuinely do not think this is the end of this story here. I honestly thought if you would have talked to me a day ago before Proof of Life, I genuinely thought they sat Camel Lady down and they said, listen, you are going to cooperate and you will be remembered in American history for eternity. You will be the first woman president ever. You will be the first woman president for 5 months. And then you will step down and endorse our person. And prior to obviously November, you'll still be president for a few months before the transition in January, but you will endorse our person. And that is because you owe us everything for getting to where you're at. And I thought that was for sure the deal until now, where it's like, oh my God, they are as dumb as I feared.
They are as dumb. That's it. If I'm Kamala Harris, I take that deal. Give me 5 months as president. I'm etched in the books. I am almost Neil Armstrong to a very specific demographic. And now that's it. Then I ride off the sunset, and then no one has to hear my cackle ever again.
Dude, what is with Democrat women and their inability to laugh like a human?
It's a little weird. It's Hillary Clinton just kind of making like a real weird face. It's too robotic.
I know it sounded really cruel the way I posed it, but it's because the videos of Hillary or Kamala laughing, it like hurts them.
It's odd. It feels so forced. There's no
and unnatural.
It's very unnatural.
It's
and
like
scary. It goes to Ricky's point. Like it scares me.
It's a political laugh. It's something they're trying to work on, you know.
They practiced in the mirror
laugh
constantly.
on cue.
You know what? I think most people think that's okay.
You're probably right.
It's like Zuckerberg drinking
I was
water.
about to say,
real weird. You really thought that came off as normal? Really? Jesus.
Dougie, do you have any wrapping thoughts for us?
I just gotta say, Alex, you did call this a while ago. You said that this would happen, and as soon as I heard it, my first thought was, oh my God, Alex can predict the future like The Simpsons.
I think it's just like Doug always grounds me when I talk about The Simpsons. It's if you say enough crazy stuff for long enough, you're going to get one of them right eventually.
And you did.
And we did. Welcome to the Matrix.
Congratulations.
All right, so let's get to our final topic here. Speaking of, planes going down and tech not working. Wow, this is crazy. A NASA's Boeing Starliner remains stuck in space. Astronaut Sunita Williams is busying herself on new research. She is one of the astronauts lost in space. So there's 4 lost in space, but Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are conducting experiments on watering plants in microgravity while stranded in space due to these spacecraft issues. They've been stuck in space for over a month. They were released or launched into space June 5th on this mission, which was only meant to last 10 days.
Yep.
Now going on 2 months well over a month going on to 2 months. And what's crazy about this whole thing is I really don't know when they're going to get them back. Nope. They're kind of just stuck up there. And, thank goodness for Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams keeping themselves busy. Quote, they're saying they're exploring ways to effectively water plants in the weightless environment. The duo took turns throughout the day in the Harmony module, testing how root models and plants of various sizes would absorb water in microgravity. Whoa. I'm just saying, one, that's not really what they were there for. It was like
they found something to pass the time.
So just imagine being so bored. They're like, it's great. Let's just see how roots grow. Like, let's just try to make roots grow in space. And it's really because we're going to run out of food here soon. So we need to get the apple seeds to grow. Like, it's just crazy to me how this whole thing played out.
That's like The Martian, dude, where he has to figure out how to grow food on Mars to survive.
Is that the predictive programming that our cinema CIA always does?
It's the Hollywood just never misses, do they? So here's kind of my initial thoughts on this. So the first thing that was very weird to me when I sent you this story is they're only sent up there for 10 days. Isn't it exponentially expensive to send a person up to space? They're only going to be there for 10 days. As a taxpayer, I'm getting my money's worth with them up there for quite a bit longer. The other thing too is
really, it was just a Boost Mobile vacation that turned out to go awry.
They can come back. So they did do an interview, and they can on the ISS. They have like escape pods. They're able to like come back when they want to.
Virgin Mobile. That's what I meant.
Virgin Mobile. They can come back when they want to. However, there is because Boeing's had a bit of bad luck with PR. I just don't. They can't help themselves. There's always a bad story one day after another with Boeing. And
they can't suicide the people up there.
They can't. They're like, well, you better.
How do we get to them? Damn it! It costs $20 billion to get them.
Putting my conspiracy hat on. They're waiting until Boeing's. I think Boeing has a little bit of say in this because they're funding some of these projects. Hey, let's figure out a solution to whatever happened here with the spacecraft on space, and then everyone looks heroic when you come back down. You can leave on the escape pod anytime you want, but you're better off staying up there fixing this problem, because it's like a thruster or something issue. That's what that spacecraft that took him up there. So again, putting my conspiracy hat on, there's been some side conversation saying you're better off up there. So they're just staying up there. They're up there for a while. They get to see how roots grow. I don't know, float around, do some fun interviews with CNN or ABC. But I think this is another just Boeing story versus anything else.
What a prison.
Exactly.
Well, let's bring in Ricky. Ricky, what are your thoughts on this whole deal?
Man, Boeing is failing, bro. Boeing is failing. Like, they need to like split up or something. Like, we need to consolidate Boeing and like terminate all their contracts, because this is crazy. And it didn't just start now. It's been years. And it's like just every 3 months, there's some bad PR, as David said. Like, there's some bad PR coming out from Boeing. Like, where's there smoke, there's fire, and there's too much fire over there. Like, we need to put out the fire.
I love Ricky says we need to tear up their contracts. We need to cut up that relationship as we give them a $2.5 billion buyout. Who owns who at this point?
Jesus Christ. The incompetence is just it's
oh
irritating.
My gosh. You want to hear incompetence? I don't want to like take us too far off of this topic, but literally this was released today. I wanted to make it its own topic. The Pentagon accidentally paid dictator Zelensky, paid Ukraine an extra $6.2 billion of our money.
Just accidentally.
It was an accounting error.
How come
it was an accounting error?
It's not like we've sent them billions
Why
already.
can't we have no potholes? Why can't we have no potholes?
Right.
Like,
because we don't live in the southern states.
This mental asylum back. Like,
right. You fell asleep in my car the car I drove the whole time. I forgot the rest. The 21 Pilot song. I try to avoid the holes so you sleep fine. Cursing our government for not using our tax dollars to fill holes with cement. Something like that. I tried. But that's the point. That's the point. Is they're not using our money to fill the holes. Instead, they're giving, money to gender studies in Pakistan.
But anyway, this is also just a misallocation of our funds too, because we're giving it we're giving it to Boeing. We're just to take it back to orbit here. We keep giving all this. Boeing's too big to fail. Boeing will not fail. Boeing will outlive both of us. Will outlive our children. Will outlive our children's children.
No,
the government,
until the government. As long as America's alive, Boeing's alive.
Exactly.
They're like our number one plane manufacturer. We're not going to be beat out by Airbus or like any other foreign company. They want our airlines to fly American planes.
You never know.
Well,
Emirates has some nice planes.
You'll know we've gone
Lockheed
too
makes
far.
a great expensive plane that they can't produce quickly. F-35.
You'll know things have gotten too bad too quickly once our fighter jets that are made by Boeing are no longer operational. Ooh, there's some people that crash landed because of Boeing fighter jets. That's the canary in the coal mine. The American empire is going down after that. Do our politicians have to admit, well, we gave all this money to Boeing and now they can't even make the war machines we give them unlimited money for? It's one thing, a bunch of people stuck in Spokane on a flight because the doors aren't screwed in tight enough, or the astronauts are up there on the ISS. They like to be in space, so just let them up there be a little longer. But when we can't bomb brown people we really want to bomb in certain countries, ooh, that's when shit hits the fan.
David, that might be the most intelligent point you've made all night.
Hey, at least I make one intelligent point. I got one here.
Silent, what are your thoughts on this whole deal?
I think this is just basically showing how when corporations stay at the top, they get complicit. They just take their foot off the gas. They relax. They start to cut corners. They start to think that they could be the top dog forever, but then reality starts to catch up to them, and that when you create short-term shareholder value in the name of short-term profits, in the long term, in 10 to 15 years, which is probably what Boeing did 10, 15 years ago, all of that is going to come back to catch up to you and haunt you. And that's what's happening with Boeing. All of this is haunting them. They wanted to create shareholder value in the short term for all of their shareholders, and they cut corners. They wouldn't listen to engineers. They wouldn't listen to anybody about the safety issues. They just were like, keep it going, guys. Keep the assembly line rolling. Keep cranking out the planes. We got demand to meet. Let's go, without regarding to what anybody has to say. And this is now a consequence of those actions, right? This is like, we're seeing like the results, like they're reaping what they sowed. They planted these seeds 10, 15 years ago, and now we're seeing the results of these cuts that they have been aggressively applying into their corporate structure and into their day-to-day operations on the assembly line. And a lot of engineers have come out and said it. The ones that talk too much end up, being, 404'd, as they say. So I think it's definitely a textbook example. Like the Harvard business classes will study this, about how a company was so good at what it does, but then they just took their foot off the gas and they're in free fall, basically. Like there's no other way to put it. Like Boeing is in a crisis night right now, and clearly the price of their stock is a reflection of that. Every single other day there's an accident involving one of their planes. It's a reflection of that too. And I think they really, really need to get it together if they want to continue being the best. But as you guys said, to build off what you guys said, they're just way too big to fail, and they make so much money that unless the big old government steps in, there's not going to be much other choices, because you don't really have other choices. What other choice do you have? It's either Boeing or Airbus, right? For most planes,
Pretty much.
And I think they know this. That's why they don't even care that they're cutting
they're
corners,
protected.
And it really doesn't matter to them at all, because they know that, like, oh yeah, it's either us or Airbus. So they're going to go away to Airbus, and then eventually Airbus is going to say, nah, guys, we're too busy. We can't build this much planes. And then they're going to come back to us.
Honestly, I think the Airbus planes are nicer than the Boeings. Like I flew on
agree. I totally
8
agree.
flights for a trip last year, a couple of years ago now. And half of them were Airbus, and those were the nicer planes for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Airbus makes way better planes. I
hate to say it, because I want to believe America Boeing can make the best planes, but you know what? They are getting beat.
They are. It's true.
I wish there was this type of corporate incompetence when it comes to like tracking our data, tracking where we are at facial recognition. Why can't facial recognition
somehow
really be not
Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat are able to like get it down perfectly with no hiccups
every time? When it comes to something negative against me, boy, they are on top of it. It seems like when these airplanes, you're just trying to go for vacation.
I think you're getting an idea of who your real government is.
That might,
it's the corporation.
I'm rethinking here tonight.
Oh. All right. So, any further rapping thoughts, Silent, before we?
Just to add on top of that, like I said, even if Boeing doesn't really get their shit together, they're just like you guys said, they're way too big to fail. So they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. And if that means cutting corners and there's 100 planes that crash every year, then so be it. They really don't care. And it clearly shows.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
For my wrapping thoughts, it's going to be this. Yes, we can have a whole dialogue about Boeing. We've had enough of those. They suicide whistleblowers within their company. We've seen issues surrounding them for a while now, and the public faith in them is going down. But this is less about Boeing and more about the Americans stuck in space. And yet this is not even a conversation. This is not even a dialogue. This is not even being reported. When the male star of the WNBA got entrapped in Russia, that is all we hyper obsessed about every day. Oh my God, they got her over a weed pen. They got her, and we got to get her back. We got to get her back. We got to get her. What about just the upstanding scientists that are lost in infinity? We're just like, yeah, but they're stuck in orbit. We'll get them at some point. And it's like, is there a rush? No, they ain't going anywhere.
That's probably what we said about the dogs and monkeys we shot into space. Oh, we'll get to them eventually.
Right, that's what I mean. It's like, you know what? I might try to get them out once they figure out this root shit. I really want to know how we can get roots in anti-gravity. Once they figure it out, we'll bring them down. Like, to me, it's very alarming how when it's politically advantageous for the chessboard, we are alarmed for the extraction of Americans and bringing them home. But when it doesn't benefit us, like, all those scientists that got there, they actually didn't get to the professional role of sitting in that spaceship the day before. So they had a whole career of putting in the hours and losing half a paycheck. And, this isn't going to resonate with a lot of the blue jersey folks that don't collect a paycheck every 2 weeks. But for us that collect a paycheck and then lose half a paycheck, like, you start really caring where that half a paycheck goes. And if I'm sitting here with half a paycheck and you're not using half that other half to get me out of space, but you're going to trade the Merchant of Death for the weed pen, dude? What? You don't get to collect my half a paycheck anymore. You don't, especially when it's gender study classes in Pakistan. I want home. And they're like, yeah, but let us know when you get by Orion's belt and we'll think about it. Like, what? So my wrapping thought is I'm not satisfied and I wish we were doing more, and it's crazy. None of us are talking about this. What are your wrapping thoughts?
Well, so we made remember we made the movie about the astronauts that didn't quite make it to the moon, but had to get back.
Apollo 13
starred Tom Hanks. And we get like a couple news articles about this because, well, we don't want to piss off Boeing. They do some advertising with us. Jesus, we're going downhill. This ain't great. This corporate consolidation. I think that's been the theme of this show. And also probably been the theme of this whole podcast, really, that corporate consolidation is just awful. It's not doing us any benefit here. We're trapping people up there. It's causing all sorts of problems. Our computers, our flights are down. This is the end of an empire.
The end
of an empire.
That is, I want to know what it was like. I mean, we're gonna find out, but I'd love to know what it was like those last decade and that last decade and a half of being in Rome, where it was I think we're gonna lose the garden's gonna go away, and then Bob, I think you're wrong. Well, Rome isn't here today, folks. Dougie, what wrapping thoughts might you have for us?
Okay. Well, all this really makes me think, should we really have retired the shuttles? Like, okay, they were reusable and they were already designed. And we had a few accidents, tragic accidents, but we learned from them. We fixed them. And then the shuttle was a reusable thing. It was operational. We could carry our stuff into space. We shut it down, had to rely on the Russians for a long time, hoping that these American companies could come up with something. Well, clearly they have fallen short. And once again, I think it all comes back to Boeing. It's funny that we started this conversation around this Boeing Spaceliner discussion, and it immediately turned to all the Boeing issues that have ever been reported. That is huge. So I don't know. Like, I would like to get them back. I don't think it will look good for anyone if we never bring them back. But
just after the root experiment.
Yeah. But from what I read, the capsule had like a 45-day battery, and they're well past that, but they're like, oh, they're gonna be fine. We'll get them home.
It's just one astronaut pedaling on like a treadmill. Like,
oh
my God, guys. Come on, get us home. This battery's gonna die. Like a hamster wheel just running.
And then like my other quick thought is air travel, because of Boeing, used to be such a like nice thing. You used to dress up. You got like drinks and food. Even when I was a young kid, pre 9/11, you could bring on whatever you want. They didn't charge you all this extra crap, and you got a full meal. Your flight could be 2 hours from Cleveland to Florida, but they were going to feed you an actual meal on that flight. Air travel has just become so cheap, so like bad, that it's now transferred to the business that makes these planes. They go, well, if it's going to be a cheap service, we'll build a cheap plane.
I mean, Doug makes the greatest point. I think I've said it on the show before, but I had a friend on our way back from spring break where, they have like that steam, that mist that like cleans. We walk in and there's this mist like filling, like what looked like a smoke throughout the whole thing. We get to our seat and he says it so everybody around us can hear. And he goes, "Hey guys, don't forget the person that built this plane was the lowest bidder." And it's like, that's a fact. And there are fruits to capitalism, which is the race to being the best. And that's how you get ever-growing sciences, medicine, technologies. But also there are evil symptoms to it too, which is trying to make the plane as cheap as humanly possible to maximize profits.
Cram
and throw
as many people in as possible.
Yes, and cram as many. That's literally cram as many people in as possible. So now you've got these seats that are far from comfortable. I have a podcast episode that I haven't gotten to put out yet because I'm in the crosshairs of cancellation, but we survive as always. But I've refrained from putting this one out for no reason. But one of the things that we talk about, I'm in a podcast with a very tall gentleman. He's got a big brand, The Toxic Show. Check it out. He's great. Derek's awesome. So, or Drake's sitting here, and he made.
No wonder you're trying to get canceled.
Yeah, I'm trying so hard. No, so Drake's position was he hates the people that recline in their seat. And I go, whoa, dude, that's my real estate. That air in front of you that you think is yours, that's mine. And I can take it whenever I want. And we have this back and forth, which makes for a fun dialogue. But also, the seats we're sitting in are not the same seat I was sitting in when I was 13. Like, nope. They're so much tighter, smaller. The seat reclines nowhere near as far back as it did. Now you get limited access. We put TVs in front of you, but you better pay us for it. Like there's always another catch, another way to squeeze more money out. I don't want to leave this dialogue without addressing one of the things that Doug brought up, which is unique, something that none of us even really addressed. I think even the guy in the Nazi shirt or the NASA shirt, to me, they're the same thing. It's the same Nazi organization.
They stopped that like 20 years ago.
Exactly. when Warner von Braun passed, that's when NASA stopped being a Nazi organization. Sure,
they got their use out of him. Now
at least they got a man on the moon with him.
They're
What
all
have
in
we done
Argentina
since
now,
then?
anyway.
Besides strand people in space.
But it is convenient, right? I just don't want to leave the conversation without addressing the space shuttle. Like, Doug, do you know, like, why did they do away with that? Because it was ineffective? To me, that's like a super plane. It's a giant tank of propulsion.
It was too expensive.
To them, it costs too much money.
Yeah.
But really, in the long scheme of things, does it cost? Because we could fit a whole satellite in the back of that thing. Now we're relying on a private company to develop this all
and
brand
take
new.
Parts up.
Yeah. And take parts up and assemble it in space, where we used to be able to send a whole package up all in one.
Yeah, the problem became after numerous trips. It's very difficult on vehicles to come back and
so keep rebuilding a new space shuttle. Then, like we could have built.
If we're going to keep rebuilding a new space shuttle, why don't we just have proprietary spacecraft go up every single time? Because that's usually what the argument comes down. Because then you don't have a Challenger situation. Because part of the Challenger situation was it just wasn't built back properly. It was one
component. Learned from it. It was an O-ring. We learned from it. We fixed the problem, and then like it was good. And then we had another incident. They learned from that, and then we did multiple more shuttle incidents. 2 incidents in the 30 years that those things are. This is space travel. How many incidents did we have in the first 10 years of attempting it?
Well, the public, NASA. Well, the reason why NASA, doesn't really sponsor this shirt, but they put their logo and everything is to get the public's interest into it,
because they're not allowed to copyright anything they create.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of it. But the other half of that issue is you have to capture the hearts and minds of the American people, so they write to their congressmen and go, "Hey, I love this NASA shit. Just keep giving me more. Keep giving me more. I want to go to the moon. I want to go to Mars." And when we see an astronaut die, because most of these
are people doing that?
People are doing that.
You know how people say write your representatives. Are people really just writing a letter like, "I really like what you did with the trains. Can you still do what you did with the schools? I think you could do better with our water." It's just like, That's a thing?
That's a thing.
They don't just squawk and yell on their own podcast. I thought that's what we do.
They encourage people to go out to their representatives, but they also, why do they do all these branding deals? Is because they want to showcase to brands like, hey, we're a powerful partner for all these brands. And then they go to Congress like, hey, my God, people are buying these NASA shirts like you wouldn't believe. These NASA watches, all the space ice cream. There's no such thing as space ice cream.
That stuff is nasty.
You know how much they sell at those stores. It's all a ploy to keep getting some money out of Congress, because we have the military industrial complex, and Boeing. Apparently, we give more money to Boeing than we do NASA.
That's more money.
That's how wild
we give more money to Boeing than people give to God, aka a church.
Doug, I didn't like that fact.
That's bad.
That wasn't the right fact to end this show on.
Well, it's true, don't we?
Well, guys, capitalism is your new god. That's your fact. Before we close this show down and completely land the plane, can you bring in Ricky? Ricky, tell the folks where they can find you. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, just another day TV, man. Everywhere, anywhere, we here. But wait, yo, the more the company get big, the more they don't give a fuck, because they have all the Congress people that gonna give them repercussions, so they don't really care. This make the seat smaller, lay off more people, because the people that's supposed to give them consequence is in their back pocket. Always, the bigger the company gets, the bigger the contract, the more accidents we have. But just another day TV. We outside, never inside, unless we're sleeping.
As he's sitting inside. All right, let's bring in Silent Destroyer. Silent, tell them where they can find you.
Kick.com/Silent Destroyer. We are live every single day. Just to build off of what Ricky says, it's unfortunately
you're
only
never
going to get
outside
worse.
either? Or you're never inside?
I'm inside, I'm outside, desktop streams, IRL streams, every single day. We do everything, baby, all variety. Just to build off of what Ricky said, unfortunately, this is going to be a big trend in the next few decades, where companies are just going to become too big to fail, and they already have Congress and the government in their back pocket, and they're just going to keep doing whatever the hell they want. It's sad.
I love it. I love it. So, guys, I appreciate you joining us. We go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. The whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. So thank you to everybody that were jumping in the comments to add a little bit of perspective to our dialogue. But Brian, who isn't here, and this Sunday I will be alone, but every Sunday, Brian and I do a live show called the Rethink Actions, where we go live at 9 a.m. every Sunday. It's a nice little palate cleanser to get away from all the craziness on the internet and get a little break. Wake up, have a cup of coffee with us, kick back, and enjoy some laughs. But like I said, we go live with this show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Silent and Ricky are always joining us, and we have all sorts of content coming at you. And if you're confused where to find it all, you can find it at one central location, and that's at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. Otherwise, guys, we'll catch you next week. Peace.